All right, ladies, we're on week 2. We are on Monday the 10th, and we are on upper body. So we have 5, 6, or 7 rounds. That's your choice. And then we also have part 2, which is to a timer. So we have snatches, bicep curls, shoulder press, chest press, and then part 2 is plank shoulder raise. Snatches. And switch sides. Bicep curls. Shoulder press. Chest press. Okay, it is like a crazy storm out there brewing. It just got super dark and it's thundering. So I'm hoping that this doesn't ruin my filming, but we're gonna get through it. Okay, and chest press. And part 2 to a timer is your plank shoulder press. Okay, so first we have our snatch. So a snatch is kind of like a clean and press or an overhead press, shoulder press, but you start from the ground. So you're gonna have the weight in front of you, and because we're not doing alternating, you're just gonna stay on the same side. So the weight's gonna be on the ground, kind of in front of you between your legs, and you're going to grab it from the ground. Now, when you grab it, this is one of the most important parts of your snatch, is that you want to make sure that you have a wide stance and that you are bending, but you are keeping a straight back. So I'm like this, okay? So this shoulder is a little bit more dipped down than the other one, but I'm not rounded down, or I'm not like this. Like, the more your butt is tucked under you, the more you're gonna round. The more that you pop it out and back, it's gonna help straighten your back. So you wanna make sure your back is straight when you grab, and you're going to pull the weight up through the middle of your body. And when your shoulder can no longer go up, you're going to flip and press overhead. So from here, you're pulling, pulling, pulling. I can no longer shrug. I'm gonna flip and land overhead. So again, it's similar to our clean that looks like this. So usually we do a clean and a press. Your snatch kind of combines it in one fluid motion. So it's from the ground, pull up, flip overhead, back, down. Pull, flip overhead, back, down, okay? So you definitely want to get up. I mean, I'm not using a heavy weight, but if you see people doing it with a heavy weight, you'll even see them jump because you really want to yank. It's a pulling, yanking motion that you're doing with your shoulder. So from the ground, pull up. When you can no longer pull, flip overhead, back down, okay? So notice how close the weight is to my body, all right? So the biggest mistakes that people make is they do a big circle. So they come from here and they go way out and up. That is not a snatch. Or they'll come and they'll just do a clean and a press. That's also not a snatch, that's a clean and press. So you want to think about a pulling, yanking motion and a flip. It's one fluid thing, okay? So you pick it up and the motion doesn't stop until you hit the top. So there's no breaks in between. It's one fluid motion, okay? So that one, if you've never done it before, can feel a little tricky or be a little tricky. I can just recommend to watch yourself in the mirror or film yourself and make sure that you're getting that fluid motion and that the weight is staying close to your body. It's okay if you have to do it slow and practice it a lot before you get it, but it's always the most important to have the correct form, even if you're gonna go really slow, because this is one of those ones where you could easily hurt your lower back. Next we have bicep curls. So you've probably done these or seen these. I always point out that I start on my side and I rotate. A lot of people start like this. So if you start like this, you're just going to get a comfortable stance with your feet, and all you're doing is curling up, slow release. Curl up, slow release, okay? So you always want to be in control when you're doing these. You don't want to be hoisting up. You don't want to be, also when people hoist, they tend to favor one side and they don't do it evenly. So that can hurt your back as well. What I do, like I was stating, is I start on my side and I rotate up, rotate down, rotate up, rotate down. That is how I was taught by my dad, who was a bodybuilder, how to bicep curl. So I have always done it that way, but I've noticed in gyms a lot of people just start out, and that's okay too. It's just your preference. You just want to make sure that when you're doing it, you create some sort of tempo in your mind. So I like to use the counting. I like to say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So your release on most exercises that you do should be slow. So it's a little bit difficult because we're doing all dumbbells because we're at home. But if you were in a gym and you're doing, say, the lat pull down, which is the machine where you sit and you have the wide grip bar and you pull it down to your chest, you always want to release slow up. Pull, slow up. Same thing if you were doing a seated row at the gym where you sit and you grab the thing in front of you and pull it to your waist. You want to have a nice pull. You always want a slow release. Nice pull, slow release, okay? So it's kind of a little bit more difficult when you're, like I said, you're using just dumbbells, but a bicep curl is one of those exercises that you can easily control the slow release. Unlike, when we just did the snatches, it's not as easy to control that, or some of the other things that we might do. Shoulder press. This is where you are just pressing overhead. So you start with your weights on your shoulders, press up, return down. Press up, return down. So this one seems really simple. The only things you want to be careful of, I mentioned this in a different video already, is when you press above head, you don't want to let your back sway, okay? So if you notice that that's happening, tuck your hips under and straighten out that back. So go from here to here, okay? You also don't want to shallow press and be pressing out in front of you. You want your head to be between your elbows, okay? So your elbows should be by your ears. Now, if you are using a heavier weight or you're getting tired, you're gonna do what we call a push press. So when you're here and you just press above, that's called a strict press. You're using nothing at all except your shoulders. So again, if you're fatigued or you're using a heavy weight, that is going to get very difficult. So you can switch to a push press, which is just a slight bend of the knee and then press. So you're taking the energy from the bend, I almost said the bend, and then it's transferring into your arms when you push up, okay? So that is what we call a push press. Without that bend, it's just called a regular press, okay? So you wanna use that push press when you are getting tired or you're using a heavier weight. Lastly, we have our chest press. So if you have a bench at home, you should use your bench. If you don't, we are going to be doing what we call a floor press because we're on the floor. So you're going to start with your elbows bent and they're going to be on the floor. Your arms are up like goalposts, okay? You're going to press up and to the middle. So your dumbbells might hit each other. Try to control it. Try not to make sure they're not doing that. But just to make sure they are going toward the middle. And then when you come down, you're going to separate and come back out to your goalposts. 1, press up to the middle, back down. 2, press up to the middle, back down. 3. This is another good one where you can really control having a slow release. Up, slow release, okay? So this one is pretty easy. If you were on a bench, the difference is that number 1, it would be called a bench press, but number 2, you're getting a wider range of motion. So when we're on the floor doing our floor chest press, the floor is going to stop our elbow. If you were on a bench, your arms are going to come farther down, so you just get a greater range of motion. And then our last part is plank shoulder press. So this is going to be to a timer. You're going to pick between 20 and 30 seconds, whatever you would like, 15 to 20-second rest, and we're gonna do it 4 times. So this is gonna be an elbow plank position. And what you're doing is you're basically driving your elbows into the floor, which is gonna create you to arch, or I shouldn't say arch, pike up. So drive through the floor, it's gonna pike up, my shoulders are open, and then I'm gonna return back down. Pike up, back down, pike up, back down. So you're gonna feel that in your shoulders, but also in your delts. So right here, that muscle that kind of goes from your shoulder to your neck, this area right here. That's where you're gonna feel it the most. So some people really don't like these. I like it because I think it's a really good stretch. When you press like that, I feel like, it feels to me like something is opening and stretching, and I just like that feeling. Other people find it really tiring, especially at the end of a workout, but I like it, so I always keep it in the program.